So I'm going to start, and first of all, I want to thank Dominic and Piper for taking me up on the extra credit offer because you're really helping me more than you know. And I also want to ask those of you students participating today as viewers to think about something positive. You can give constructive feedback. You can give back to Piper and Dominic. So think about some praise, whether it's on the digital presentation and the aesthetics of it, or the actual content. Both work. And actually, I would like you to provide, some positive feedback on both the presentation itself, how it looks, and their content, what they are presenting. And then, of course, maybe some constructive criticism. What could they do better, or what maybe wasn't clear or could be clearer. Okay, so some polish, praise, and we're going to let this group take it away.
Hi.
Hello.
I'm
Dominic.
And I'm Piper.
And this is really our book talk. I'm Lewis and Watchman.
I thought you said my name is
By Harper.
This is my library book. It's very overdue. I'm very okay with that.
So this is about our author, Nellie Harper is her full name actually. And she was born April 28th, 1926 in a small town called Warrenville, Alabama. She's best known for her books To Kill a Mockingbird and To Go Set a Watchman. And she was actually the youngest of 4 children, and her father was a lawyer just like Atticus in the book. And Lee's mother had a disease for most of her life, which made it kind of difficult, and she didn't really leave the house much. And during high school, Harper Lee developed a love for literature, and when she graduated in 1944, she went to college in Montgomery. She was focused on writing in college, and she was trying to be social in college, but she always failed at it. She wasn't really that kind of type to be social. And she went into a law program that she went into like an undergraduate, and she moved to New York City, where she wrote and published her first book, To Kill a Mockingbird. And this is our interview with her. Do you want us to click on it?
Absolutely. Just pause it just for a second. So Dominic, today your book talk is also serving as an opportunity for the viewers here today to take this seriously and think about this as a possible nice summer read, because you're going to pick a book up, right, EJ, this summer? Read it. Go Set a Watchman. So you're selling your classmates on the book, okay? So yeah, we want to know as much about this book and the author as possible.
So this is her only recorded interview about To Kill a Mockingbird, which was her book before Go Set a Watchman. We'll give this a play.
Might have to adjust the volume on the actual. Yeah. So let's stop. Let's check the volume on
YouTube.
that's
Or you're just gonna, okay, we'll just try this again.
The summer of 1960 was made memorable by the release of a novel titled To Kill a Mockingbird. It racked up a record sale in hardcover and softcover, and it was a gentle, compassionate work which became a great motion picture. Miss Lee, with her very first novel, became one of our leading novelists.
What was your reaction to the success of To Kill a Mockingbird? I often wondered how the author who wrote what became an immediate smash, both critically and as far as sales were concerned, would react.
Well, my reaction to it was not one of surprise, it was one of sheer numbness. It was one of being hit over the head and knocked cold. It was something I never expected I never expected that the book would sell in the first place. I was hoping for a quick and merciful death at the hands of the reviewers, but I was hoping that maybe somebody might like it well enough to give me some encouragement about it, some public encouragement.
Dave, you got, I think, all the encouragement any one writer.
Yes.
For a lifetime.
slow worker. I think, a steady worker. You know, so many writers don't like to write. I think that that's their chief complaint. They hate to write. They do it under the compulsion that makes any artist what he is, but they really don't enjoy sitting down and trying to turn a thought into a reasonable sentence. But I do, I like to write, and sometimes I'm afraid that I like it too much, because when I get into work, I don't want to leave it. And as a result, I'll go for days and days and days without leaving a house wherever I am. I'll just go out long enough to get papers and get some food, and that'll be it. It's strange.
To Kill a Mockingbird was made into what I thought was an unusually fine motion picture with much of the integrity of the book held. How did you feel about it?
I felt the same way, Roy. As a matter of fact, I had nothing but gratitude to the people who made the film. It was a most unusual experience. I think even, of course, I'm no judge, and the only film I'd ever seen being made was Mockingbird, but there was an aura of feeling on the set. I went out and looked at them filming a little of it, but there was a feeling of such kindness, or such, it seemed to me to be such respect for the material that they were working with. Of course, I was delighted, I was touched, I was happy, I was exceedingly grateful. But it seemed to permeate everyone who had anything to do with the film, from the director, from Greg Peck, from the producer, down to the man who designed the sets, to the peripheral characters and the actors who were playing the smaller parts.
One question I want to ask concerns the South as a whole. Why is it that such a disproportionate share of fine fiction, of our most sensitive fiction, springs from writers who were born and reared in the South?
Right, first of all, you have to consider who Southerners are. We are a mixture of Celtic. We run high to Celtic influence. We're mostly Irish, Scottish, English, Welsh. We grew up in an agricultural society mainly. The tradition of the South is not urban. It is not industrial, or wasn't. At least our heritage is not such. I think we are a region of storytellers naturally, just by our tribal instincts, just from our tribal instincts. We did not have the pleasures of the theater, of the dance, of motion pictures when they came along. We simply entertain each other by talking. It's quite a thing. If you've never gone, or if you've never known a southern small town, the people there are not particularly sophisticated, of course, are not worldly wise in any way, but they tell you a story every time you see one. We are oral types. We talk. And another thing that I've noticed about people at home as opposed to, say, people in small-town New England, we have rather more humor about us. We're not taciturn, we're not wry, we're not laconic. Our whole society is geared to talk rather than to, we work hard, of course, but we do it in a different way. We first of all, our ethnic background, then the absence of so much to do in the sense of to go somewhere or see something. We can't go and see a play. We can't go to a big league baseball game when we want to. We have had to entertain ourselves for years. That was my childhood. If I went to a film once a month, that was pretty wonderful for me and for all children like me. We had to use our own devices for our play, for our entertainment. We didn't have much money. Nobody had any money. We didn't have many toys to play with. Nothing was done for us. So the result was that we lived in our imagination most of the time. We devised things. We were readers. And then we would transfer everything that we had seen on the printed page to the backyard in high forms of drama. Did you never play Tarzan when you were a child? Or did you ever go to the jungle or refight the Battle of Gettysburg in some form or fashion? We did. Did you ever live in a tree house? Did you ever find the whole world in the branches of a chinaberry tree? But I think that kind of life naturally produces more writers than, say, living on 82nd Street in New York City. In small town life and in rural life, one knows one's neighbors. Not only does one know everything about one's neighbor, one knows everything about that neighbor's life from the time he came to the country even. People are predictable to each other simply by family characteristics. Life is slower there. We have more chance to look around and absorb what we see. We're not in such a hurry that we can't do anything except go to the office and come home and have a drink and settle down and collapse in the evening.
My final question concerned Miss Lee's ultimate ambitions as a writer.
Well, my objectives are very limited. I simply want to do the best I can with the talent that God gave me, I suppose. I would like to be the chronicler of something that I think is going down the drain very swiftly. And that is small town, middle class, southern life, as opposed to the Gothic, as opposed to Tobacco Road, as opposed to plantation life, that kind of thing. There is something universal in it. There's something decent to be said for it, and there's something to lament when it goes, and it's going, it's passing. In other words, all I want to be is the Jane Austen of South Alabama.
This was an interview with Harper Lee, recorded in New York. And I'm Roy Newquist, your host on Counterpoint, a show designed to bring you the working philosophies of the world's major writers.
To kill him up.
Summer 1960 was made memorable. 1960 was 1960.
Okay, so here's some literary reviews from different places, and then this is a video that we have.
Can we get the lights on?
So, don't let those said of Watchman change the way you think about Atticus Finch. The hard truth is that such a man as Atticus, born barely a decade after the reconstruction of the family of Southern gentry, would have had a complicated and diverse history with race.
Those said Watchman contains the familiar pleasures of Miss Lee's writing, the easy drawing rhythms, the flashes of insouciant humor, the love of an anecdote.
A coming-of-age novel in which Scout becomes her woman. Those said of Watchman voiced in
Beguiling.
What?
Beguiling.
Beguiling and distinctive and reminiscent of Mockingbirds. It can't be dismissed as literal scraps from Lee's imagination. It's too much integrity.
So basically, don't take racism as something that's
Yeah, and
bad.
can we go back to those reviews just for a moment? I want to take a look at the variety of reviews and the sources you chose, and the audience might have some questions. So the first review came from,
Los Angeles Times,
okay, and the second one,
Wall Street Journal,
and the last,
The Independent.
okay.
Newspaper, I guess?
I'm pretty sure it was a newspaper.
Okay. And do you have questions about these reviews? Anybody? Questions or comments? Do they, what's the overall message or feeling? There are 3 reviews and they all have similar what? Yeah, the similar message. What is the message? Is it a good book or a bad book?
Good.
Okay, so basically it's,
Don't overlook it.
thank you. Okay.
And actually,
It's a book that millions of readers can't wait to read. There's nothing quite like it.
This is the most thrilling and exciting publication I've ever been part of. It is such beautiful writing. It has all the wit, intelligence, insight that To Kill a Mockingbird has. What an amazing gift.
It's a book that has great historic importance for American literature. It's a huge bestseller. It's a book that has a very fascinating story around its background, behind its origins. And it's a book that connects with a classic that so many Americans have grown up with and love.
So you guys notice how a certain name was missing from that?
Yes.
He has a sudden heart attack at 28. It comes from his mom's side.
Outrageous.
I know, it was only mentioned in like a single
Yeah,
sentence, and then they don't go over it again, and I was like, are you serious?
Not reading that book.
Total devastation, I
Yeah,
know.
I'm kind of mad about that.
yeah, he wasn't that important in the first one.
AJ, you weren't important in the first
Actually,
one.
you know what, and this is a good, you know, I know your comment was made in jest, but the point is that, in To Kill a Mockingbird, they had such a loving sibling relationship, yes, and that's what built upon the theme of innocence, right? And innocence in the family setting and growing up together and learning the harsh ways of the world together, brother and sister, hand in hand. So it is devastating to know that he doesn't have a presence in Ghost Out of Watchman.
Was it like early, middle, late in the book that he?
It was like within the first part that you find out he's dead just randomly.
Huh, okay.
Read it, AJ, you'll love it.
Just to let
In
you
the
know,
story.
he's dead.
But
It's a part of the plot line.
I'll just do it down.
I'm kind of impressed.
So here we have our setting. It takes place in Macon County 20 years after the book To Kill a Mockingbird took place. It happens in Atticus's house, a courthouse, an ice cream stand owned by a Cunningham, and the past of Macomb seen through Jean Louise's flashbacks.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. The Cunninghams are poor.
Yeah, but he owns an ice cream stand.
Not
really
more
cute.
than.
There's
She throws up.
a lot of differences.
I never liked him anyways.
So these are some of the main characters. There's another slide on these two. So this is Jean Louise at Ivan Stoutman. She's 26 years old now, and she now lives in New York City, but she comes down to Alabama for her yearly visit. And when she's visiting, it reminds her of her childhood. She goes back a lot, just looks through the town, and it reminds her a lot about different things that happened. And she is conflicted with a conflict that her father is part of the council that is dedicated to preserving segregation in the South, and that kind of messes with her mind a little bit throughout the book.
Yeah, let's stop. Say that very slowly. He is part of a council dedicated to preserving segregation. What does that mean? Break it down, Dominic. Call on somebody in here.
Zachary.
he wants segregation to keep happening and stuff, like separation between blacks and whites and races.
And
Yes.
how-
And that kind of messes with
Oh,
her
this is
because-
like, what?
Because as
Because
we see in To Kill a Mockingbird,
he's not a
with
racist.
the trial with Tom Robinson,
He's not
and yes.
And it's like really heartbreaking. There's this one scene in the book where she goes to see Calpurnia, who was her maid for a while, and everything's changed. Calpurnia wants nothing to do with the family anymore and just totally acts like Jean Louise isn't even there. She barely talks to her.
a racist. Yeah.
And Atticus Finch is the father, as we know from To Kill a Mockingbird. Jean Louise is a respected lawyer, and he has severe arthritis and cannot do a lot. So Aunt Alexandria comes out and lives with them, and he is part of the council that is dedicated to segregation.
Jesus
And then there's Henry, also known as Hank, and basically he is sort of the romantic interest of Jean Louise,
He's in
but
love with her.
he is all over her, but she's kind of in the middle of deciding whether or not she wants to be with him, because he is always saying, I want to marry you, will you marry me, I love you, I love you, I love you, he calls her baby. But she's sort of on the edge, and then all of that shatters when she finds out about all the racial segregation that he's involved with.
So she kind of likes him?
Yeah,
Yes.
there's one point where she's like, yes, this is who I like, this is who I want to be with, but then it just
But then I forgot to
spirals.
put, he's also part of the council and works with Atticus a
So
lot.
it's kind of like Bill and Hank, who's like.
Dill is mentioned a few
A few
times.
times he's in my characters.
He lives somewhere far away, but they still keep in touch, but like they didn't get married or anything, like they had said.
And then Alexandria Finch Hancock, which is the sister of Atticus and Jean Louise's aunt. And Jean Louise does not like her aunt because she thinks she is unlikable, and they often get a lot of arguments throughout the book of different stuff. And Alexandria lives with Atticus because Atticus cannot do a lot, and she often guilts Jean Louise into trying to convince her to come live down in Alabama and take care of her father. And Dr. John Hale is the younger brother of Atticus and the uncle of Jean Louise. And Jack got to school because Atticus paid for his schooling, and he is now an orthopedic doctor. He's the only white man not in the council in the town. And Jean Louise often goes to him to talk about what happened in the council and how she thinks.
Like, just reading the passages that they're in together, this guy is like extremely smart. He is a very well-rounded person. He's in love with like English literature and just randomly brings up like passages from different books, and people have no idea what he's talking about, so they automatically just think of him as insane, but really, he's a mastermind, and it's very admirable just reading passages with him in it.
So would you say, let's go back to that slide a minute, would you say that Uncle Jack's role is the role that Atticus plays in To Kill a Mockingbird as this honorable beacon of, you know, superiority and everything that we all need to look up to?
I agree, but also disagree, because in parts of it, Jean Louise just doesn't like her uncle at all because of the way he's defending Atticus and everything. So, in To Kill a Mockingbird, Atticus is just held up highly as like a god, but Jack is more down on Jean Louise's level and understands what she's going through and tries to help her, but he's also kind of being more strict than Atticus would. So, conflicts. I just did this in internal versus external, very simply put. Jean Louise versus Atticus and Henry, their racist beliefs, who they choose to affiliate with. Jean Louise versus herself, her deciding who she should be, whether she should stay in Macomb, be like the Macomian people, or be her own person. And then Jean Louise versus Alexandra, which is very constant throughout the book because Alexandra's just pushing feministic views on her and she's not happy about it. Atticus's illness, which makes things difficult for him to accomplish. Henry trying to convince Jean Louise to marry him, her internal conflict with deciding if it's right for her, and Jean Louise's constant struggle with overcoming the death of Jen, because like right before the huge fight with Atticus, she is just heartbroken. She's standing at the place where he just collapsed and died, and she's just overcome with anger and sadness. So, plot.
Jean Louise Finch returns home to Macomb County after living in New York and attending college there. And she is continuously proposed to by Henry, a longtime friend of hers growing up, and it's like Piper said, it's constant throughout the book, and
It's kind of funny
yeah.
how often it occurs. Like, there's like 3 chapters in each part, and I swear in each part it's said like 5 times. No joke. It's kind of funny.
And Jean Louise overhears Atticus and Henry using racist terminology in the courtroom that kind of messed with her mind a little bit and didn't make her in the right place anymore. And she remembered the events that happened to Kill a Mockingbird when her father was defending Tom Robinson, and her and Jem being up in the courtroom watching the whole thing happen. And Frank is Copernicus' grandson, and he kills the old man while driving, and Atticus decides not to defend him, which kind of offends Copernicus in a way too. And Jean Louise no longer trusts her family because of everything that's happened with the council. And Jean Louise and Atticus fight, and him showing her how there's so many opinions and many reasons aside, either opinion and she shouldn't be so single-minded, and she should be open to the possibilities.
It really does mess with you. Like all the racist stuff that goes on in this book, like the way they perceive it, the way they talk about it, just kind of tingles you in the way you don't want to be tingled.
Now, when you say, because you're saying it messes with you, what do you mean by that? Explain that a little bit more articulately. What is it? Is it shocking? Is that what you mean? The shock value? Is it upsetting?
The way Atticus defends all of his racism, it's kind of understandable, and that's what's scary, like with racism, because you just should know that everyone's equal no matter what. But then when you get into, like, this is a reason why, this is a reason why, this is a reason why, it messes with you and it's wrong. It's angering. Okay. So, my personal critique, I say it's a stunning book that I enjoyed immensely, but my only issue was with the constant throwing of political ideas throughout the book. Yes, I know it's a huge part of the story, but the constant political debates inside her head makes the book a little too confusing and a little hard to follow. But other than that, beautiful book.
And I enjoyed the book too. And the only thing I had a problem with was in the Kill a Mockingbird, Tom Robinson was found guilty, and then in the Ghost of the Watchman, he was convicted not guilty.
Yeah.
And like I said, they kind of contrasted with Jean Louise's head a little bit, because if things would have been different in the Kill a Mockingbird, then maybe it would have been different in the Ghost of the Watchman with how she thought of it.
Yeah, I did remember that in the Ghost of the Watchman, they actually said that he was not guilty. Like when they explained what happened with Tom Robinson, and I was just a little confused, but I mean, it was obviously a book that was written beforehand, and maybe they just didn't catch it, but it did shock me. Staircase?
Okay, thank you. Nice round of applause. Let's give them a round of applause, and then we'll take questions, grades, feedback from everybody. Okay.
He's going through on his own now.
Questions?
Alright, so
I did not call on you. Questions? AJ.
Did you read the book?
Yes. Zachary.
Alright, so in the interview she said that she takes a lot of time on her books. How do you feel that's reflected in her books? Well, you both, obviously. I don't
Well, obviously books take a long time to write themselves. So.
but I mean,
They don't write
do you
the
think there's more depth into it, or what?
Definitely. Like, I could just tell you on and on about how long it takes to write a book in general, because I've done so a few times, but it's just editing and revising, and before you know, you have like 13 copies of the same book with like very minor details in between. But you can definitely tell that a lot of thought was put into the book, like through symbolism and through imagery and just through the detail going into like the flashbacks, and just the political ideas themselves are very well thought out, and they have to represent the idea that Harper Lee actually believes in, but it was a beautiful book, and you could tell it took a lot of time and effort.
No, you said something about symbolism. In the front cover of the Kill a Mockingbird, there was like, you could see like everything. When you read the book, you know there's like, hey, that's on the front cover. Is the same thing with Ghost of the Watchman, or is that just...
I think
that's like her train coming in, I think.
Yeah, because she comes in from New York on train. But the thing that really, I was looking at while we were listening to the video, but it has the tree with the knot hole in it still. So it definitely has to tie into the original book.
Yeah. So this is obviously where they found all the stuff.
Right.
I'm not sure about the colors meaning anything specific other than just being like an eye pop, but definitely has ties to the book throughout.
Alright, and after reading To Kill a Mockingbird, everyone's like thinks Atticus is super honorable guy, and then after reading that, whether like if you just read that without reading To Kill a Mockingbird, you think he's a racist dude. Now, what do you guys think combined? As what do you think?
Well, yes, if you didn't read To Kill a Mockingbird before Go Set a Watchman, and you read Go Set a Watchman first, you would obviously think that there's something that Atticus is racist and he doesn't want any, and he supports segregation like in the book. But then in To Kill a Mockingbird, obviously we see that he defends a black man, and because he doesn't think that he's guilty. But yeah.
I think I could write an essay about that question.
Alright.
Basically, I'll just sum this up very, very quickly. I think, and this is being very honest, I think there's a little bit of racism in everybody. It's just when it's shown is how you define that person. Like some people are very open about being racist and they point it out as constantly as they can, but some people just choose to hide that inside themselves, and even if they never mention it in their lifetime, it's still there.
It still comes out at some point,
yeah,
whether you want it to or not.
And after reading both the books, all I can say for Atticus is I think he's a very good man at heart, but growing up in a southern county, it's just something that you can't help. And it's just part of being bred there.
It'll definitely affect you and how you are raised.
Like, I mean, if you're a Christian, born into a Christian family, you're obviously going to be Christian unless you make that choice later on in life to not be Christian. It's really how you're born.
Any other questions?
Yeah.
I thought you were done.
I thought so, and I thought, what was your guys' favorite lesson learned? Well, if it
Yay! Are you going to share your favorite excerpt? I was going to ask you to do that. Okay.
It's right at the end. Dear goodness, the things I learned. I did not want my world disturbed, but I wanted to crush the man who's trying to preserve it for me. I wanted to stamp out all the people like him. I guess it's like an airplane. They're the drag and we're the thrust. Together we make the thing fly. Too much of us and we're nose heavy. Too much of them and we're tail heavy. It's a matter of balance. I can't beat them and I can't join them. It's just...
Do you want to identify the speaker?
It's Jean Louise, and she's talking about her dealing with the fact that Atticus and Henry and all of Maycomb are very, very racist. And she has to balance her own ideals while she's there with them. And that's a big struggle, but it's something that she's learning to cope with. Because earlier, when she had a huge fight with Atticus just about racism in general, she wanted to flee. She just wanted to get on the train, doesn't matter where it takes her, she just wanted to leave. But then she talked with Jack, and then she went back and talked to Atticus, and things just started sorting itself out. And it was a very beautiful part of the book.
Before you share your excerpt, I have a question for Piper. I have my own set of questions here. The father-daughter dynamic obviously is a big component to the whole novel, the plot line, the story. Without spoiling the ending, do you believe, could you give the viewers here some insight, do you believe Atticus and Jean Louise have a stronger relationship or a weaker relationship after all is said and done in the novel?
I think it's definitely stronger. They finally can see each other eye to eye. There was finally a part where Jean Louise didn't see Atticus as this god anymore, but as a human too, and I think that's what really needed to happen, because the entire time Jean Louise was just shocked that someone she could love and idolize so much was actually bad in some cases, and it really humanized the whole situation, and I think that that was the really big thing that needed to happen for her, because she can't just go around being so simple-minded with everything in life. She has to actually see there's a lot more depth to it.
One more question. Is there a lesson to be learned between all fathers and daughters out there? Reading this book, would that help, relationships, you think? Or is it do you think the portrayal of Atticus and Jean Louise's relationship is disrespectful to the parent-daughter or son-daughter and father-mother relationships out there? What do you think?
Dad can't just act like he's the god and controls everything. There has to be a point where the younger actually takes up a step and says, no, you have to see that sometimes you can be wrong, and I need to show you that. And I think it was a huge bonding moment that I think all family relationships can learn from, because some people are just like, no, this is it, this is the right way, that's all you get. But there needs to be that other step where saying, no, there's also this and this and this, that you need to see that, and that opinion needs to change. And it's definitely something that everyone can learn from.
Very good.
Yeah, I agree with that too, because even in like mother and son relationships, not just father and daughter or brother and sister or anybody in the family, that things can be learned from each other with growing up with people and seeing how they reflect on other people also, and just how they go about their everyday and just the lessons that can be taught with the simple please and thank you. And
is there something to be said about age and how the older you are, you think maybe possibly the more mature of a relationship and honest of a relationship you can have with your parent? Is there something to be said about that? As a young adult, are you going to have maybe a more honest dialogue with mom or dad than maybe you would as a teen or preteen or a child? What do you think on that topic?
I feel like when you get older, you're more open-minded to stuff, versus when you're younger, like a teenager, you're more closed-minded, like this is what I want to do. I don't care what you tell me, I know everything kind of mindset. Versus when you're like 26 or even older, you have more of, okay, what can I learn from other people out here?
Excellent. Do you have your favorite excerpt you want to share?
Yeah, I don't know why, but I just really enjoyed this, honestly.
Okay.
It was.
Is it funny?
Kind of.
Okay.
It's like a little like poem or song.
Okay.
That, here's a howdy do, if I marry you, when your time has come to perish, then the maiden whom you cherish must be slaughtered too. Here's a howdy do.
I thought the word slaughter just exploded in my head, and I was like, well, it went from a howdy do to a goodbye to you.
I love it. Okay. And the speaker of that?
It was just kind of like out there. Then the next one was, it was wondering what Atticus and Hank were doing, so I'm assuming it was
Jean Louise. Yeah. Her inner thoughts, right?
Yeah.
And she's quite sarcastic, isn't she? She's a little spitfire.
Definitely.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. So nicely done. Nice round of applause for this group. Okay. I highly encourage you to pick it up over the summer.